You all know her. You all fought against her, the legendary monster of Greece mythology. But who is Medusa? In Fate universe, in Age of Gods, Medusa and her sisters were born from the wishes of mankind for ideal idols. As perfect goddesses, all three goddesses gained divine essence, and was to remain the same from the moment of their creation to their destruction. However, Medusa was an exception, who was a failure from birth, growing older over time. Though they should have all been copies, or even as close as clones, resulting from the deification of the same phenomenon, a mistake in her birth, or something of significance caused her to be copied imperfectly. While she did not embody forever young and immortal, she gained abilities in compensation, compared to her sisters' inability to even care for themselves. With divine powers, meaning her mystic eyes, indispensable in protecting her sisters, who could not live in the world on their own. This caused the United Sisters to become three separate individuals. Although Medusa was different from the start, even the other two showed irregularities, their sadistic nature from interacting with her. She was originally considered to be a princess, to be loved by humans, but Athena, jealous of their beauty, cursed Medusa alone, taking away her faith from each and every person, and exiling her to the shapeless isle. Their love for her turned to hatred, and she was banished by those who had adored her. The island had nothing to offer, compared to her days of luxury, and she prayed that none of the humans, that now frightened her, with their resentment, would tread on the island. Weeping in loneliness, she had no idea of her sin, that forced her to be exiled. Although her sisters were not affected and still greatly loved, they too accompanied her there. Out of caring for their younger sister, she was happy. Even on the barren island, due to their company, and only had to fear the coming humans. While they became rumored as monsters, her sisters were still revered by people and men. While she was feared as a monster, people sought to kill that which had been branded as a monster, and take away the goddesses. And after they began to also target her sisters, she decided to protect them, while taking her revenge on the humans. They were in harmony for a time on the island, at one point, receiving her Pegasus from Poseidon, who was under impression of beauty of sisters. Although, while she was bullied by her sisters daily, she simply moved about the island on each days, hoping for humans does not appear. Hoping for the peace to continue. Although when they came, she answered them with repaying them in the same manner as they treated her. She killed many humans, simply hoping to be left alone on the only place she could exist with the company of her sisters. Though she was protecting them from the foolish humans, who was coming for their own deaths, her sisters warned her not to take pleasure in killing them. Using her eyes to sow terror in humans, she began to experiment in ways of killing them more quickly, deciding to become a trap against those who would take her sisters. Even they, who had always been full of joy, began to fear her after she started drinking their blood instead of simply petrifying them. The humans continued to journey the island, no matter the infamy surrounding her, and she eventually became too ashamed of herself to appear before her sisters. Leaving them, she once again found herself alone, hungering for new sacrifices to replace her sadness and loneliness. She grew into the Gorgon, with each day, as her body, heart, and very being decayed, all backed by the thought of becoming stronger for the sake of protecting her sisters. Even that reached a point where her sisters instead became nuisances who were intruding upon her lair. They appeared before her after her full descent into a monster, lamenting that they had not asked for her protection and were just letting her enjoy what had seemed fun to her. Saddened by her state, they sacrificed themselves to the Gorgon because their sister who protected them was no longer there. Consumed by countless snakes without any trace of joy or sadness, they were grounded and absorbed into the beast while still alive. Without leaving a trace, they became its flesh and blood, and it continued to thrive as the Gorgon sisters became monsters of nightmares and legends. The Gorgon's notoriety continued until Perseus decided to bring back its head for his own fame. He boldly traveled to the Shapeless Isle without any hesitation, only realizing his folly upon seeing the state of the island. He despaired upon encountering it, having decided that there is no victory to be found against the demon god, with his noble phantasms, which only acting as life-saving equipment in the best scenario. Avoiding her gaze by focusing on his mirror shield, he desperately fought to survive. Tired of toying with him, Gorgan used its power on him, but Perseus used the only possible method of defeating it, using Kibasis, to have it engage Gorgan herself. In theory, it would have been able to affect him without any recourse, or need for the Gorgan to actually focus on the battle, but Kibasis instead caused it to be reflected back upon her like a mirror. It caused her to suffer a nightmare beyond all nightmares as Medusa, a reflection of when she had self-awareness, completely immobilized, and finally, she was struck down. But, about that nightmare, it was actually a dream, where she was harassed by her sisters, but it was not an evil nightmare that paralyzed her with excruciating pain, but rather the joy of seeing those she thought she could no longer meet. Despairing upon the reflection of itself from when it was still self-aware, this allowed Perseus to have his single counter-attack, severing Gorgan's head with harp. That monster, out of its own will, became Medusa again, and let itself be struck down. But this is not the end of Tale of Medusa. Was just a beginning for her actual tale, of not seeking Holy Grail, but protecting the person who she vowed to protect, no matter what it takes, to protect one person who she knows need to be protected, and help her to reach the happiness which she couldn't reach. But that's maybe be another tale for another day. Thanks for following to this point of video. Don't forget to like,